Hey, Jason, the part-time farmer here, Long Bottom Farm, and today we're going to talk about processors. I get a lot of questions about what's the different kind of processors? Do I need to use a processor for my food? Where can I find processors? And I just want to address some of the basic questions with processors, but also give you some tips that we have found very helpful in working with processors that I think will definitely help you on your farm. Let's jump right into it. Real quick, we have a newsletter, the Sunday Solopreneur. This comes out every Sunday about 10 a.m. I talk about how to market your products on your farm, how to use social media and websites to grow your farm. I also talk about farming, raising cattle, chickens, pigs. We go through it all, and it's about building your farm business. Sign up now, and you'll also get a free PDF on how to use ChatGPT to write your social media, to write your newsletters, and to help write product descriptions for your products. This is free download for signing up for the newsletter. One newsletter every 1 to 2 weeks, no spam, I promise. Check it out. I think you'll get a lot of value in learning to grow your farm or homestead, and it's free. All right, back to the video. All right, you can see behind me, I'm up here in the barn today. I'll give us a little spin here. I've got 6 orders to put together this morning, so I'm gonna get those together, but I wanna talk about processors. If you're selling meat, you're gonna need a processor, unless you're doing chicken. Processors are basically places that you take your animals to, and they put your animal down, they dry age, in essence return to you packaged meat, the meat packages you're gonna sell. If you're selling beef, if you're selling pork, lamb, really much anything but chicken, you need to go through a processor. These processors are overseen by either the USDA or your state. There's basically 3 kinds of processors. You have USDA processors, and these are processors that you take your animals to, you get your meat back in packages, and you can sell these cuts anywhere in the United States. You can sell it across state lines, farmers markets, stores, pretty much anywhere. Then you have state-inspected processors. These are processing facilities that are state-inspected. They still have inspection, just like a USDA inspection, but there's not a USDA inspector there every day to oversee the process. With these state-inspected facilities, you can sell meat anywhere within your state. You cannot cross state lines. You can't ship to other states. That's the main caveat with state-inspected facilities. Again, you can still sell to stores. You can sell retail, wholesale. Your customers, again, you just can't send across state lines. And then the third type of processor you have is custom processors. These are processors that still have to go through an inspection. They still have to meet standards that keep your meat safe, but there's no USDA inspector. And with custom inspection, you're not allowed to sell that meat for retail. So custom inspectors exist because, say you're raising your own cow and you want to take it in to get processed for meat for yourself, then you can do that. That's what custom processors are for. Now, there is one way you can use custom processors to sell, and that's through shares. So say, for instance, I'm selling a whole beef share. What I would do is sell that animal before I take it to be processed, meaning I would sell it live. So how does that work? Well, a customer essentially buys the cow from me. Therefore, they own the cow. It's their cow, it's their meat. They can do what they want with it. And then I just help them either haul it to the processor, pick it up for them, and take care of all that for them to help them with that. Again, once they've paid me for it, it's their animal, so therefore they can use a custom processor. This works great for shares if you're doing half shares, whole shares, and if you're selling large shares, this is the way I recommend that you do that. Again, you'll have to look into your state laws, but here in Virginia, that's typically how we do it. In most states, that's how they do it. Is you sell the animal to another person, and then you just help that person get their animal to the custom processor, walk them through the cut sheet, go through what all their options are, and basically guide them through the process. So that's your 3 different facilities: USDA, state inspected, and custom. So now let's talk about why you may need to use one over the other. We do farmers markets, we sell cuts online, we have curbside pickup at our farm, we do local deliveries into Charlottesville, and what that means is we have to have either USDA or state inspected facility for that. We tend to use a USDA facility. T&E Meats in Harrisonburg, Virginia is our main one. They're great. They do a great job. The packaging looks good, very personable. So if you're in the area, I highly recommend them. And that's why we use them though. They are a USDA inspected facility. Therefore, I can sell the meat that I need to sell at the farmer's market, at our curbside pickup, but I can also ship across state lines if I want to do that. So it just gives us lots of options to do different things. Now, if we had a state inspected facility near me too, I would likely use them because we're having trouble just keeping up with demand in our local community, much less shipping. And that's just a quick tip. If you're getting into farming or you're working on your products, sometimes there is a urge to jump to shipping, and I highly recommend against that initially. One, because if you do good marketing, if you do farmers markets, if you get the word out there, you're not going to be able to keep up with demand just where you're at. Once you grow to a certain point, then I think shipping becomes a viable option. Just something I've learned in my experience. Shipping costs us about $35 a package. That includes a cooler, dry ice, labels, stickers, the cost of either FedEx, UPS, whoever you're using. And so it's not cheap, and you have to pass that on to the customers as well. Then there's always the chance that if it doesn't arrive on time or there's issues, it's on you, the farmer, to make that right. For us, it was a lot of headache. We did it for about 2 years, and then when COVID hit, deliveries started getting delayed, and that's when we stopped shipping. That's when our demand grew so crazy that pretty much since then we haven't caught up. We haven't been able to produce enough animals on our farm to keep up with the demand we have. Therefore, just something to think about when you're thinking about the business model that you're going to do, whether you're a farmer's market, selling at your farm, shipping. Shipping, yes, definitely can do, but there's just a lot of logistics, there's a lot of cost, and you may very well easily be able to meet your demand and make your money just providing to your local customers. Again, as you scale and get bigger, yes, I think shipping is definitely a part of the plan, but I digress. Okay, back to what we were talking about, state inspection. So I would likely use them. Again, we have so much demand here that all of our sales are within Virginia. So if you have one of those near you, I would recommend you try to use them if you can. I'm not going to get into whether it's right, whether it's wrong, whether they should be there, whether they serve a purpose. I have my own opinions on that, and I'll keep them to myself. That's probably what you need to know about that. But it is a fact of life. It's a reality. If you're going to use a USDA facility, they are going to cost more typically than a state inspected facility. Now, again, a model could be that you're just selling shares, beef shares, pork shares, lamb shares. And if that's the case, you could find a custom processor. They tend to be significantly cheaper than a USDA processor or a state inspected processor, just because they don't have all of the bureaucracy, all of the red tape. Yet they're still inspected just like a state facility, but they just don't have to pay government employees to be in their building 24/7. Depends on which model you want to go, how you want to do as to what kind of facility that you would choose. Now, this is something I think will really be beneficial if you're already processing, are some tips and some things that we've learned in working with processors that will make your life much easier. One is get your dates early. Prior to COVID, it was pretty easy to get, I would call the January, if I needed to get cattle in a couple months later, if I needed to get pigs in for the fall, I'd call early January, February. I could call the same year, get them in the same year. Ever since COVID hit, there was a huge demand for locally produced food. There was just a huge demand for food in general, I think, because of plants shutting down for one, consolidating how many processing plants there were. There were a lot of people that were scared and wanted food security, so they were looking for big shares. They were stocking up on food. And it also drove a lot of people to seek out more local sources. It raised a lot of questions about where food comes from, how it's produced, and all farmers can tell you just during COVID, it was crazy. If you were doing wholesale, you were hurting to a degree because the restaurants shut down, but a lot of those were able to pivot to retail sales to local customers because there was so much demand. While that demand has dropped, it's still been steady for us ever since. It was a good chance to get our name out there, to try to supply all these people that were looking, and it brought in a lot of new customers that we still have to this day. That said, the dates have never really corrected, meaning I'm still getting dates for pigs that I won't get processed until winter of next year. These pigs aren't even born yet. Unfortunately, that's a reality with a lot of the processors, is that they're still pretty swamped, and you got to get your dates early if you're going to get your animals in. This is a very important aspect of your business, because if you can't get your animals processed, you ain't going to have any meat. Something to think about is, one, get your dates really early. Call your processor. If they won't give you dates then, they'll let you know when they're opening up for dates, and just put that on your calendar, when to call them back. Concerning your dates, a lot of people will book extra dates. This is something that started with COVID because people were scared they couldn't get their dates. So they would overbook, meaning they may get more dates than they needed. They may have gotten dates for more animals than what they had planned on taking in, just in order to have the dates and that security. And I understand it, but at the same time, it's caused problems with the processors now because they're seeing lots of cancellations, and this affects their bottom line, because if they have a whole week planned and half of them get canceled, then they can't pay their employees. And a lot of you're a full-time employee, you're going to look for work elsewhere possibly if you find that you're being called off all the time. So I recommend try to be honest with your processor. If you develop a good relationship with them, they'll usually work with you. So we tend to get the dates that we need. As a backup, we've worked with about 5 or 6 different processors over the 8 years that we've been doing this. Therefore, we have some backup plans. If for some reason we can't get in with T&E or our main processor, then we've got other ones we can seek out. Just be honest with your processor. Again, that will help build a better relationship with you, because you're bringing in the animals that you say you're going to bring in. you're bringing them in when you say you're going to bring them in, and you're not canceling. And those are the customers they want. There's a lot of people canceling, so if you can be one of those customers you want, you're going to automatically develop a pretty good relationship, so that in a pinch, hey, I've got this cow I need to get in, or hey, I've got a couple pigs I need to get in. They're more apt to work with you if you've been working with them. Another thing we do is I like to keep my processors happy. And so what we do every year is we send them pizza. Just pick a day, check with them, find out, do something nice for them. Again, we appreciate them. We want them to know that we appreciate them. This is a way they're working their butts off, they're doing things. It's a way to show that appreciation. By doing things like that, when you do need to get in a date, sometimes they remember, hey, this farm sent us pizza. They're pretty awesome. They keep their word when they say they're going to bring in animals. You know what? Well, I think we can work them in. We'll figure out something. Just another thing is try to do nice things for your processor. I'm not saying buy them. I'm not saying bribe them and this and that. But I am just saying some nice gestures of goodwill go a long way. They're working hard just like you're working hard, and they're such an important part of your business that I want to keep my processors happy. And that's doing nice things for them, and that's also keeping my word and bringing in the animals that I'm going to bring in when I say I'm going to bring in. Just things, buy them pizza, send them a card, promote them. They're processing meat and stuff, but you have local orchards, take them a big thing of apple. There's just things you can do to gain favor with your processors, to show them that you appreciate them, and I recommend that you do those things. Another thing that I've learned in my 8 years in doing this is I try to keep it simple for the processors. I have found that, say you're taking in 3 head of beef and you've got crazy things you need done to each animal. Not crazy things, but just totally different things you're doing with each animal. A lot of times that's going to lead to problems. I like to think of it as if you're going through a fast food thing and you've got everybody that orders the Whopper, but then one person wants extra onions but no tomato, and the next person wants extra mayonnaise but no bun. Just weird stuff. I tend to be, that's where things get messed up. So I try to keep things pretty specific, and there's 2 reasons for this. One is that it makes it easy for the processor. Generally, when I take cattle in, unless it's a custom for a customer, meaning they have custom sheets, and that's either a half or a whole, we generally have one cut sheet that we will have for all 3 cattle, and that's because we're cutting them up all the same way. Same amount of roast, same amount of steaks, same amount of ground beef. If we're getting stew beef, we'll just put extra, hey, pull this much stew beef from all of them. But we try to do one cut sheet to keep it simple. The other thing you'll find is that sometimes having too many options can be a burden on your customers. It's hard. When we first started, we were trying to get, cube steak and mock tenders that we were pulling out of the chucks, and it just became one of those things that, well, okay, we need more chuck roast this time, so we can't get mock tenders, but then we're out of chuck steak. And sometimes too many options are confusing for the customer. We wanted everything to be pretty uniform. Then we found some items just don't sell well. From our standpoint, what we did was we just uniformed everything. We kept everything. We tend to get the same thing every time we go. Now again, our processors will offer different products sometimes, and occasionally we try those. But for the most part, things like beef bacon. I don't know a lot of people that eat beef bacon. So I have people that will try it. They might buy 1 pack here or there. But I find it's just something that it's more of a novelty type thing. People are going to get bacon. They typically want pork bacon. It's cuts like that I find take away from the cuts that normally sell. So it's one thing if you're overstocked, yeah, get these extra cuts. If you're taking in enough animals that you have so many roasts that you don't know what to do with, then yes, definitely you want to grind that. You want to do some different things. But I try to keep it very simple for the processors, because this ensures that I get the cuts back that I want to get back. Also that the customer gets accustomed to the cuts that we have. And then that's going to lead into one of the last tips related to processing, and that is be careful if you're using multiple processors. Sometimes it's a necessity. We have to do it. That's why I told you we have like 5 backups. We have 1 processor we take our chicken to, but I've also used that same processor for pork. I have 1 processor that we typically just take pigs to, but a lot of times they're full, so we also use another processor for that. I have 1 processor that I just take my cattle to, but we've had to sometimes switch and do things. If I can't get into one and I've got the demand and I'm out of stuff, you got to do what you got to do. Problem with that is that 1, the packages that you get back, they're not going to look the same. 1, they're going to have different labels. 2, though, a lot of processors just cut things differently. They package things differently. Say you've got a customer that loves your pork chops and they've always come a certain way, and then the next thing you know, you've got this other processor you took to that packages them different, maybe leaves more fat on, they look different, and it may not be, it could be frustrating for the customer in that they're not getting what they expected to be getting. So it's just something to think about if you're using multiple processors. We get sage sausage, and I've gotten that from 3 different processors, and they're all just slightly different. All the packages look different. It's hard to go and then change your product on your website or what you're selling because it almost becomes like a new product. And it just adds a lot of work and it gets a little confusing for the customer. If you can, try to find a processor that you like, stay in with them, get in good with them, and use that processor. Again, you're going to probably have to use other processors, but just something to be aware of if you do run into that is that the products, even though they're the same animal, they're going to be cut different, they're going to look different. They might even, in the case of sausage, brats, different things, they're going to taste different. And so you got to be prepared to convey that somehow to your customers, whether that's making a new product, changing your pictures on your website, and making sure that they know. We have run into problems with bacon before. People love their bacon, and we've had to use different processors sometimes for bacon. And some customers have loved the new bacon that we have, and some customers have been like, what happened to your old bacon? It's just one of those things that it just creates confusion for the customer, in lack of a better term, confusion. And our goal was to make things, as again, going back to my last video email, as simple as possible for the customer. We want to make things very simple. They know what to expect. It's easy for them to order. Staying with the same processor and getting everything uniform is one way of doing that. I hope these have helped. Something I've been getting a lot of questions about, so it's something I wanted to address with you guys. I hope you got some value from it, and hopefully I can provide you with a little more value here. Since we're talking about processors, that means you have to load animals, and if you want to see a super easy way to load your pigs, check out this video here, and we'll catch you in the next one.